Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And this is Richard Bailey Jr. I'm the editor in chief here at thecoalition.com. And we're going to have a discussion tonight about reviews in the industry and basically talking about, a situation that we encountered recently that we wanted to provide a clarity on for future reference. I'm joined by Mr. Jake James Lugo. How's it going, Mr. Lugo?
Hey, what's up, Rich? It's been a weird day. I mean, it's nothing too bad, but got some goofiness that I guess we're gonna get into now. Talk about everything. So, but other than that, I've been good. I've been hard at work.
Oh yeah, understood. Also hard at work. This is quite. It's always busy with the gaming stuff and other things as well. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into the main point of this video. So first and foremost, what we do here at the Coalition. We are pretty much responsible for. I mean, we're all fans of video games. We basically write reviews, editorials, previews, everything you can think of. In the past, we have had a couple of instances where we will write a review, maybe give something a good score, and we will have a lot of people accuse us of being paid off by the publishers. Now, obviously, I think if that was the case, we all would be in a much
We'd be
better.
balling.
Oh yeah, we will all be in a far better place financially. We will be putting out more content on a regular basis. We're trying to improve in that now, but obviously nobody is paid off, especially not us. But
Definitely not.
we also have some situations where, some people tend to get critical. And I'm going to let you now, paint a picture for everybody, Mr. Lugo, about what is the situation that we encountered today.
All right. So yeah. So basically, here's the gist of what happened, everybody. If you're listening to this or whatnot, right now it's August 30th, and it's after the release. I believe it's after the release, or it's the first day of the release of Strike Vector EX for PlayStation 4. I believe it's also on Xbox One, if I'm not mistaken, and also it originally came from a game that was on PC. The game was originally called Strike Vector, and here's the thing: I did a review for it. Okay, I got hit up by the PR company that was promoting the game and stuff, and they were looking for different places and obviously different I guess you could say content creators or influencers to actually review the game and get more awareness about it. No NDA, no embargo, no anything of the sort. It was before the release of the game, but we were able to kind of review it and talk about it and stuff. So I was like, okay, fine. You know what? The Coalition needs more content. There's nothing wrong with actually checking out the game and putting up another review, because that's what I do. I mean, this firsthand, Rich. I'm constantly reviewing games whenever I can, and I'm constantly putting up content whenever possible. This is what you guys that are listening to this now or watching this now usually come to the site. Am I right? Am I right, Rich?
That's correct.
So basically, I got the game, Strike Vector EX, for PlayStation 4, mind you, and I decided to, play it, review it, give my opinion and stuff, and post it up on the site. Now, if you haven't been on the site lately, okay, the final score that I ended up giving the game for Strike Vector EX was a 39 out of 100. I feel that was a fair score. I feel it was justified. I felt like I backed it up and supported my claims and my actual viewpoint on the game. Basically, some of the bigger standout points and the bigger standout kind of like flaws that I experienced while playing Strike Vector EX is not only did the game crash on me multiple times on PlayStation 4, even though I didn't mention the number in the review, it was a total of 5 times that the game crashed on me, which is absolutely insane for any game. Like, even you have to admit, Rich, whenever a game crashes even 1 or 2 times, like, it's already pushing it. It's kind of bad, especially if it's so close to its final release and such. But the game crashed on me 5 times. In addition to that, while the original game on PC, okay, it was a Steam game just called Strike Vector, but Strike Vector EX has the originally a multiplayer focused game, but now in the console on PlayStation 4, it has a little bit of a story mode, mixed into the actual gameplay for it, on top of the multiplayer that was already there, was already built up and stuff. Now, apparently, according to some of the promotional material, and apparently to some individuals, the game was built from the ground up using the Unreal 4 engine, and in the original game, I guess, used the Unreal 3 engine and stuff. From what I saw and what I experienced when I played the game, like, again, you could look this up on YouTube. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys could find gameplay videos and stuff, or you could even look at the screenshots we have on the Coalition now with my review. The game looks like an early PlayStation 3 title. It does not look that great to me. It looked kind of mediocre. It looked kind of meh. as like the best type of like description I could give. It didn't look like anything like a pixelated garbage mess or like an anti-alias like mess or anything like that, but didn't look like something that was really, a game that was really looking great on PlayStation 4, despite running at 1080p 60 frames per second. In addition to that, it had multiplayer. It also has an offline multiplayer mode called skirmish mode. But the problem with all of this, and the point that I want to get at, is that it wasn't really that fun to play. It has some interesting aspects to it that I even mentioned in my review. But playing through the single player mode was completely lackluster. It was really kind of a mediocre story that was kind of a throwaway, didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was like an afterthought, obviously. But in addition to that, besides the visuals, besides a lot of the bugs and a lot of the unbalanced weapons that were in the game, including the Gatling gun, which is you fly these things called vectors that they look like planes and stuff. And the guns that you have available to you, like the different types of weapons that you're able to customize your vector or your quote unquote your plane with, are kind of unbalanced. Like the strongest weapon in the game is the Gatling gun. It's complete. It does a lot of damage. It fires very frequently. Has a spread where kind of like the auto targeting kind of like locks on to your opponent or like the different AI enemies that are running around on the story missions and stuff. It does a lot of damage, and it's broken in multiplayer, in my opinion. That's how I felt after playing a bunch of multiplayer matches online on PlayStation Network. So I said all of these things, and I kind of, again, look at my review for a much more detailed explanation and stuff. And I conveyed my opinion. I gave it its final score. And like typical, after I post up a review, I usually always send it to the to the PR person that sent us the game. That's a common courtesy that a lot of us do in the game industry whenever we post up a review, because we want to let them know, like, hey, listen, just letting you know, we reviewed the game. It's up on the website now. Here's a link to it. There you go. And we do that for every game that we post up, not just myself, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the staff does the same thing, where we do that and we send it over to the PR people. Right. No matter what we score the game. Like I've done that for both games I've praised and games that I've kind of been really critical on, or games that I've really just said really bad things about because they were really justified. But I've always sent it to them. And I've always been genuine, and I've always been honest, and I've always been diligent in the way that I review games. I learned a lot of my stuff from review games more recently. Again, if we're being totally transparent, Rich, I learned and took a lot of example from guys like Dan Stapleton at IGN, where I feel like they have a process, they have a real legit outlook on when it comes to reviewing games and being critical of the medium. I always felt that was fascinating, and I emulated a lot of that, and I understood why how games are reviewed a particular way, which I feel it works for us. I do that with all my reviews. I mean, would you say the same thing, Rich?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everyone has their own process, but at the end of the day, you have to find out what process works best for you and stick to it.
Exactly. So that's always worked for me like that. And again, I've been honest with all the games that I put out there, and based on the information I get from playing a particular game and leading up to the final score. So what happened was after I sent, I should really say, the link to the review to the PR person, today or recently we just got an email from the PR firm, the PR people. Okay, one of the individuals over there, basically criticizing and being very upset about what I had said in my review. They felt that the 39 out of 100 was way too harsh. They questioned not only my ability and my skill to review games, particularly this game, but also said that basically a bunch of the stuff that I said was false, which is entirely ridiculous and not true. I mean, Rich, you read my review and you saw my review. Did you get any sense of that whatsoever?
Honestly, I thought the review was fair and straight to the point. I saw that there were many mentions in this in this message, a lot of mentions of, all of this stuff will work with the day one patch. But my philosophy is that when you send a game to somebody and you are expecting a review, it's going to be reviewed with whatever version of the game you received at launch. It's not about the after launch patches, because
exactly
stuff should function right from the very beginning, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and to bounce off of that, not only was I not given an NDA or a review embargo, basically I could talk about the game openly, even on social media, about what I was experiencing. And I think I did it one time where I was saying like, oh, damn, like this game crashed on me right from the very get-go. I remember when I first started the game, I started up the first mission of the story mode, and the game crashed on me within minutes of me actually playing. And I was like, well, this is not that great. So I restarted and I did it again. And it happened 4 more times later on throughout my experience. But one of the things is that I've always thought was important when it comes to reviewing games and stuff like that is that not only do you have to be completely honest about what you experience, no matter what the circumstances are and such, but just because there's going to be a day one patch for a game, that's not our problem when it comes to looking at the games. That's the developer's problem. That's the PR people's problems. That's other people's problems. We're only playing and calling exactly what we see. You know, if we see a spade, we got to call a spade a spade. That's just the way that it is. Just the same thing when we see a diamond, something that's a really great game, that's a phenomenal experience or a well-built video game, we call it the same thing at the same time.
Exactly.
Like that. You know, it's not our fault, whatever circumstances, and it's not our problem, whatever circumstances is surrounding the release of a video game. Now, I got the game early. I had it about, I want to say maybe about a week or so early prior to release. Again, I think the final release of the game was August 30th, which is today when we're recording this, or like right around this time frame. And if that was the case or whatnot, my biggest question, again, from the business side of things, having done so many reviews and dealt with so many publishers and so many PR people, then if that was the case and there was a day one patch coming out and such, number one, why wouldn't you tell us? Number two, why wouldn't you give us an embargo? I mean, if you're without any embargo on a game, that means that it shows us that you're pretty much confident in your product, that everything seems well. And I can tell you from personal experience, and I think you could attest to the same thing too, Rich, where we've gotten games mad early before release date, and like they wouldn't crash, they wouldn't like, you know, be broken, they wouldn't have like all these issues that I ended up running into this game, you know, something like that. I mean, am I wrong here?
Oh no, you're absolutely correct. And every game that I have reviewed since I've been reviewing games, yeah. If I did get a game early, yeah, there would be an embargo. They would tell you if there were issues. All of this information you would see in the information, the documents that you receive.
Like, so. I remember I got it recently to kind of like relate it to another review I did recently, Metroid Prime Federation Force. And you know, because I talk with you all the time, Nintendo could be really, really, you know, strict and really kind of like, you know, difficult to deal with sometimes, especially with their games early. Yeah. One of the things that they were kind of like very forward with about Metroid Prime Federation Force, despite the score that I ended up giving it in the end, was that, you know, they even came out and told us, like, listen, the online modes are still being worked on. We're going to have all these updates and stuff leading up to the final release and stuff. You know, just keep this in mind when you're going into the game and reviewing and stuff. So that way you make sure that you get the most accurate information and all this other stuff. You know, they're very forward with that. They're not trying to hide it. I mean, they have an aura of confidence and stuff, but again, they're still in communication with us, and they still are open with us about whatever's going on and such. When I got this game here, Strike Vector EX, everything seems gravy. I mean, we didn't really get anything whatsoever. I didn't get anything whatsoever that told me anything of the sort. Like, obviously, I don't think that, you know, unless it's like really kind of like, you know, obvious and such, that a PR company is going to come out and tell reviewers like, hey, you know, just keep in mind the game might crash a few times, but look past that. You know, and look past that and be okay with it. I don't think anybody, you know, listening to this discussion or someone that buys games wants to be kind of, you know, okay with a game crashing on them. I'm pretty sure the people that bought No Man's Sky recently would have a lot to say about that. I mean, if you get what I'm saying. So, yeah. But am I right here, or at least in the way that I'm looking at it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like I already said. You know, when you receive a game as is, you know, your job is to review that game. You have to critique it. You can't lie, because there's some people out there that may value your opinion, and they will make a purchasing decision based off of what you say about a game. So not in a position to lie. You have to remain transparent about how you feel about the game, the overall experience. And, you know, doesn't really matter if anybody criticizes you. I mean, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. There's a lot of stuff that could be said that it is subjective. And
exactly.
That's totally fine, but it is not really in anyone's right to come after you, be like, oh no, you need to forget about the fact that there are bugs in this game, this, that, or other. No, that doesn't make any kind of sense.
And here's the funny thing, which is what we got when you showed me the email that we got, because originally the email went to you. You know, the person.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start off by saying, again, everybody listening to this, we're being totally transparent. We don't have nothing to hide here. We're going to be totally honest and give you a peek behind the curtain of what goes on over here.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, I was the one who reached out about the game, you know, once I got the press release and stuff like that. And I also was the one that sent out the links, you know, after I reviewed the game, you know, to be totally, you know, courteous, professional, and let them know, like, hey, listen, despite us not liking it, you know, we just want to let you know that our review is up. Now, how it normally goes is that typically you take it or leave it, and it is what it is. But it is our opinion, it is our judgment, no matter whether it's me or somebody else on the site that's reviewing the game. It kind of just dies right there, and we all move on afterwards because the point is the review's done. Well, what happened is that you got sent an email. Basically, it looked like an essay, almost borderline a research paper, basically saying that I had reviewed the game wrong. And not only was it attacking and criticizing my character and my skill and ability to review video games, for the site and in general be part of this industry, but also borderline was disrespectful, for lack of a better word, and very kind of like out of line, where they not only asked if you, as the editor-in-chief, could look for another person to review the game again, but also kind of threw in our face a little bit, not just yours, but also mine too, where because they were part of the industry for so long that they knew better. And that, that justified their opinion about why they felt I didn't review the game right, quote unquote. Now, before I go even further, I want to get your opinions on this, because I know we talked a little bit beforehand, but I want the listeners to get an idea of like what's going through your mind when you read something like that.
Well, to remain transparent to everybody, whenever I get an email like that, because I rarely get an email like that, but whenever I get an email like that, to me, that is disrespectful, not just for the reviewer, but also somebody questioning my job as editor-in-chief. I think that anybody that's going to try to tell me, oh, well, I think that you should have someone else review this game, you're not going to tell me how to do my job. I mean, clearly you reached out to review the game. I feel if they wanted to talk about it further, they should be contacting the reviewer to talk about it. But even still, we're not going to sit back and just make changes to review scores. I mean, we already have a relationship with Game Rankings, and going through all this other process of making these changes. We don't have that kind of time. I don't think people understand. Well, if they don't understand, it's this time of the year called, the busy gaming holiday season.
The fourth quarter.
Yeah, all of that is about to come, and that means that all of us are going to be busy. So we're not in a position to go back over and re-review stuff just for the sake of it. So already know that we're not in any position to do that. Could somebody possibly write some impressions if they had time? But nobody has time to do that at the moment. That's why I thought when I did receive that email, it was overstepping, and for somebody to suggest that I, as editor-in-chief, need to get someone else to get on this, I'm thinking to myself, no, that's not going to work. So I did feel a little bit, okay, that was out of line, but it's all good, because I already know that we are an independently owned site. Nobody owns us, so we call the shots and do what we want to do in terms of how we run our operation. It's not like somebody's going to put a gun to my head and say I have to do this. So that was my philosophy when I read it. I said, okay, well, we definitely will address it, and glad that we are addressing it this way so that people are transparent to know this is the type of stuff we deal with in this industry. You may think you come visit this site. We have a lot of politics stuff that we have to go through on a regular basis, whether it is trying to get review copies, all types of stuff. So I think it is important to be transparent about that.
Now, here's the thing about it with me, now knowing all that. And again, we've talked before we started recording this, especially when I first got it, because it was one of those things where when I read it, I was kind of shocked. It's one thing to get hate mail from someone that's in the comment section and they're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're full of shit. When you review this game, you don't know how to review games and all this other jazz and stuff. But it's another thing to get it from someone who's in the industry that apparently touts about how they've been around it for so long and stuff and thinks that's appropriate. You know what I mean? Because to me, I felt it was very disrespectful. Just saying not only the fact that, they wanted another person to review the game, but also the fact that they felt that you, being the editor-in-chief, should assign somebody else to review it after someone because again, I think that me and you have a trust within each other, that we both know what we're doing and stuff. And you've read my reviews, so whenever I review a game, I'm usually going to give it like the best of diligence, the most attention, obviously. Oh, yeah. I mean, am I wrong? If I'm wrong, tell me. Then I'll know.
Oh no, 100% accurate. And my thing is that I'm pretty sure that even if even if we had decided to have someone else review it, they probably would have a similar opinion. It would not change the perception of the game. Again, this was a game that, because I did see the email, this is a game that launched with a lot of issues. And you can't just think that somebody's going to just totally ignore that stuff. We this whole generation so far, there's been a lot of games that have launched either broken or incomplete. And then you're getting updates months later, days later, maybe a day one patch or whatever after the fact that fixes certain things but still doesn't fix the whole game. So this is a practice that's been going on for a while now.
Yeah.
So that, to me, when I saw that and all the issues that you mentioned, and of course this person also mentioned in the email,
which I thought was funny, by the way, because it's bad enough when you're getting an email saying that someone's got an issue with what you said, but they agree with you with what you said and acknowledge what you said as truth.
Yes.
But they still got an issue and stuff, which is comedic in its own right. The comedy writes itself.
Now,
like
now I will say this. Now, I understand I'm not a game designer or developer. If there was somebody that had something to say about my game, hey, I could totally understand that. You definitely want to, I don't want to say question them, but you'll definitely try to argue with them. But at some point, you have to be able to understand everybody is not going to love your game
and accept criticism.
Yes, you have to be willing to accept criticism no matter what, because this is the world. Everybody's not going to love your game. I know a lot of people that didn't like Uncharted 4. So do you think Naughty Dog lost sleep over that? Hell no.
I don't think so. I think that everybody else, that liked the game thought that it was not universally, but a lot of people thought that the game was great and stuff. But here's the point, though, that I want to bring up and kind of relate to all this. Even reading through the email, getting something like that, while they acknowledged all the stuff that I said in my review. Again, if you guys really want to know what I said, there'll probably be a link in the description box below to this video so that way you guys could see my review and see exactly what I said about the game and stuff and why I scored it a 39 out of 100. But there came to a point in that email that we got that now all of a sudden this person was just making excuses for stuff that was wrong with the game, besides like validating what I said. Saying like, oh, the story is kind of mediocre. It is kind of a throwaway game and such, but this is still a multiplayer-focused game. The way that I review games, and I think that you might agree with me, if you don't, let me know. When you review a game, you look at it as a complete package. You look at it as everything that the game has to offer. If there's single-player and multiplayer content in there, you're looking at all of that together. You're not just going to pacify one aspect over another. Like that, just in the simple fact, because by that same logic, by the way, okay, if we're really going to kind of relate it to the industry and stuff, Call of Duty will get like 9s and 10s every single year by every single outlet universally, because based on the multiplayer alone, because a lot of people love playing that multiplayer, regardless of how you feel about Call of Duty and stuff. There is still a single player campaign to some of those games, minus the PlayStation 3 version, I think of like Ghost or something, but. But the point is, like, that game still has a single-player campaign and a multiplayer campaign like that. So if I'm into the multiplayer campaign like that, I still have to review the single-player campaign on top of it, or vice versa stuff. You can't just ignore one or the other or give an excuse for one or the other, just because one is better than one aspect like that. It doesn't make sense like that, because then at that point, you're not doing due diligence to the reader and you're not doing due diligence to the audience that's coming to you for an opinion about a particular video game. I got that from, like, again, doing reviews over and over and over again for years now at this point. I've been doing this right about now. I'm going on between 6 and 7 years writing reviews and, like, actually talking about games and stuff. So I think I got a pretty clear idea of what I'm talking about when I say a game is bad and stuff. But that's besides the point. The main point is, though, is that our first obligation as reviewers, as people that talk about games, that talk about the medium, that discuss gaming as a passion, as a hobby and stuff, is to the audience. I don't think that just because one individual, especially an individual that works in PR, right, has a problem with what somebody says, whether it's me or anybody else, or you or anybody that works on the site, has a problem with what we say or what we feel about a particular game, that automatically we're in the wrong right here. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. And I think that's kind of, again, out of line and very disrespectful professionally wise.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to go back to what you said about the complete package, I pretty much will review a game the exact same way. Games like Evolve and Titanfall, if anyone's ever read my reviews that are on the website, I heavily criticized the fact that they didn't have single player story modes because all it was multiplayer. And granted, the score reflected that also. I didn't just straight up give it like a high score because it's just multiplayer. No, I thought about the fact that they tried to do a campaign, but they didn't. They did a half-ass job with it, and definitely count that against them. But yeah, counting it as a complete package because, again, there's somebody out there that may listen to a review and that may sway their decision as to whether or not they want to get the game, but they need to know what's good about the game in all aspects, not just one feature over another. It's all the whole game as a complete package.
Now to bounce off of that, again, this idea of excuses, because that's what I felt it was, both in the email that we got, and the justification about why certain things are the way they are, or why is it that I'm wrong because I didn't extrapolate or kind of like, really go into detail about every single feature in the game, which, tell me if I'm wrong, but the way that I've been taught with reviews and the way that I write about reviews, you write about and you focus on what's most important about a game. Okay, if something makes you feel a particular way like that, write about it. If something doesn't make you feel a particular way, or something doesn't really resonate with you, or something that doesn't really come into play of how you feel about a game overall and such, you don't have to write about something like that. You see, in the email that we got, guys, for all of you listening out there, they felt that, because I didn't mention certain like equipment or certain like weapons that appeared in the game and stuff. And one of the big points of that reason why I did that is because I felt that the Gatling gun in the game, with my Vector was so overpowered. I didn't have no need to go to any, of the other selection of guns that were in the game, even though I did use them. And they are there to be used and stuff. But if I have something that's so ridiculously overpowered, why would I select anything else over that? Especially in multiplayer. It's common sense. Like if you have a ridiculous weapon, like in Call of Duty or like any other game like that, why would you pick any other weapon if you know this weapon is ridiculous? It's the most powerful gun in this game. It's going to get you the most kills. It's going to get you the most progress and stuff.
Well, hold on. Quick question.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't. Didn't this issue pop up in Overwatch where there was a particular character?
Oh yeah, Bastion.
Yeah.
Bastion.
Yeah,
well, here's the funny thing that got adjusted or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure like at the very beginning, like there was a lot of Bastion players that were out there because the character was so OP. And this is how I felt about Strike Vector EX, is that the Gatling gun, that was one of the points, one of the paragraphs that I wrote about the game. And it was actually a couple times that I mentioned it, that the Gatling gun was so unbalanced compared to the rest of the guns, And funny enough, the rest of the guns and the different types of like artillery you could use are like missiles, sniper rifles that are like explosives and stuff like that. Things you would think that are like super powerful and such compared to like a machine gun, which is a Gatling gun. But it didn't work out that way. It's just that the Gatling gun, I was able to get the most kills in single player, the most kills in multiplayer, hit the most targets frequently like that because the auto targeting and the spread of the shots. Like, I was doing some work with that. So why in God's name would I use any other weapon? And by the way, relating to my review and stuff, because there was a couple times in the email that we got that they mentioned that there was stuff that I didn't mention about like the other equipment and stuff that you could use. But one of the things that they failed to mention that I actually didn't mention in my review, but now thinking back on it, maybe I should have, was that this idea of friendly fire. I don't know if you've ever played a lot of like games where you have like a lot of allies with you and stuff like that. Again, or I use Call of Duty just as a random example. Like sometimes you'll get like a partner or two with you where your guns by default hurt your allies. Now, I know that there are games that are out there that are like that, but I think that you get into a point where there's a conversation where something becomes a little bit too realistic, where it's like, oh, just because you're using a Tesla like that, you're trying to go into a group of enemies, just because your one boy was there, you're going to automatically hurt him as well, and then be penalized afterwards, towards the end of the mission. So like, to me, like stuff like that doesn't make a game fun. That just makes things a little bit much more hardcore and punishing for you. For the sake of being punishing and stuff. And that's what I felt like in this game. I didn't mention it in the review because I felt like there was other important points that I need to touch on that were much more relevant to how I felt about the game overall. But like relating it back to like how I felt about it, there was just a lot of poor decisions, a lot of poor design decisions that I felt about the game. And that's why I ended up scoring it so low. And that's why I felt justified in that.
Well, yeah. Again, there's a lot of, like I said before, you evaluate the complete package, but there's a lot of things that have some issues. I think that's definitely going to affect the final score that you give for the game, without question.
By the way, also the crashes. I think when I even said in the review, multiple crashes. Like,
to me, again, that to me is the biggest I mean, when I'm getting an email and someone's talking about a day one patch, to me that right there is,
A huge excuse.
Like I said, this most of this generation, almost every game, in some capacity, a game launches, it still needs a day one patch to fix issues that were not fixed prior. And I feel like that's just that's not good. That's not good development.
And
People
it's
need
not
to
our
improve.
problem.
Oh no, it's definitely not our problem. But like I said, I recall that there was quite a bit of games that I've got last generation I had to review. One of them in particular, Divinity. This is a game that I've talked about in the past, where I said that the 360 port was absolutely horrible because it was a PC game. And listen, when I tried to play that game, it wasn't functioning properly. Obviously, eventually they had an update that fixed a lot of things. But my thing is, when I received it at launch, this is a retail copy, the game wasn't functioning the way it needed to function. So that's why I said whenever I'm getting the email and it's talking about these type of issues where it needs a day one patch, to me, that's already a bad sign that there's issues with this game beyond what was said.
And even more so, Rich, there are plenty of other games that we both have reviewed that don't do that, that don't crash multiple times, so close to release. Like we've reviewed games that have been like 2 weeks early prior to release that we played a game and they work phenomenal and that they were great. They weren't always the best games. Like they didn't always get like 80s, 90s, or 100s on the site. Sometimes they got a lot less and such, but they didn't crash like that, or they didn't have like such glaring issues that all of a sudden, like, to some people you have to ignore because there's going to be a day one patch. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And I don't think that the consumer or the people that read our stuff really want us to act like that or to think like that, because they want to know if stuff like that happens within our experience, whether it's before release, whether it's during release, whether it's way after a day one patch or not. Like they have a right to know about stuff like that, not just make excuses because that's the norm and stuff, or make excuses because you feel like, that shouldn't be the focus of one's review and stuff. And there's one final point that I really want to make clear. And I think that it's a very important point. Now, again, give me your opinion afterwards when I say this, but I feel like this notion, whether it's from a PR person or from another person like that attacks a person's integrity or attacks a person's character and the way that their skill and their ability to review games, which was kind of done to me here. Again, tell me if I'm wrong in the email that you got that we read, about what happened.
You mean when someone is trying to use their years of experience or whatever it is to justify why they are right in their what they say? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, basically, again, to reiterate, because I know we mentioned it earlier, the person that emailed us that was part of the PR firm that for the game that was promoting the game and stuff tried to say that just because they were in the industry for like over 18 years and that they worked with, some of the biggest websites and stuff like that, that they automatically knew better and that they automatically were condescending to not only me and my work and my skills and my integrity and such, but also to the website, to yours, as editor-in-chief, and just in general, which I felt is very rude, which is very disrespectful, which is not fair, because I felt that me having an opinion about a game didn't warrant that. And me having an opinion and a stance on a game, which I felt was justified. I stick by every single word that I wrote in my review, hands down. And I get from your impression from when we talked, like you were the same way.
Oh yeah. But it also goes beyond that. My thing is that, as a person, as a site in which we review games, we get a lot of times we get a ton of games we can't review or we don't have the time to review. So the fact that time was taken to even review the game, I would think that, the PR team or whatever, they should even just be happy that you even reviewed the game. Never mind that you didn't like it. That's fine. But they should just be glad that you made the time to review the game, because we get a lot of games we're not able to review.
Exactly. And the thing is also is just that whole thing and that whole notion, that whole thought and kind of like input about one's personal years that they've put into being in part of the industry and why they feel like they know better is completely irrelevant to the conversation about my opinion about the game. Like that should never have been brought up. And I felt like just bringing that up is rude, and bringing that up is not courteous. I think it's not in poor taste. It's in very poor taste because it has nothing to do with how I felt about the game. Like automatically, why? Because you've been doing something for so long, and now you work in PR. that automatically makes it okay for you to undermine my opinion about a particular game. Yet I played the game and I justified and supported what exactly I felt about the game, what I experienced. And I gave facts in my review and stuff. Again, if you guys really want to know, go read my review. Again, links in the description box below. The point is like, I don't think it's fair whether it comes from anybody. And again, I would never do this, and I'm pretty sure you would never do this, where you would throw the amount of years you spent being part of this industry as a point to why you feel like, somebody is doing something wrong. That I don't think that should ever be a point of contention. That should never have been a point of discussion in this, and I felt like that should have never been brought up because they are being straight up rude and out of line.
Oh yeah, it was definitely out of line to suggest that you're basically telling somebody that they don't know what they're doing, and you don't know the person, don't know how long they've been doing this. I just thought it was out of line. Definitely something that I would not have done professionally, because again,
neither would I.
I don't think that's a wise decision. That's definitely how you easily burn a bridge right there, telling somebody like that. The way it was told as well, the tone used in particular.
It just felt condescending, and it felt kind of unneeded because, again, all I did was say my opinion about a game. Now, they might have felt that I wasn't, maybe I wasn't thorough enough and stuff, even though I was and such, or they felt like maybe I should have touched on other things and stuff. There's a way about going about that. And we've gotten emails, or I've gotten emails before about that with games that I've scored low, even though I still stuck with what I felt like was valid in my review and stuff. I stick by every word that I write and every word that I edit and every word that I publish on the site. You see it. I stick by it 100% because that's my opinion about this game, and that's how I feel about this game and stuff. And I'm not going to change it because I feel like I'm going to be strong-armed or I'm going to feel like I'm going to be condescended by any other individual, whether it's an outlet or a person themselves.
Yeah, no. Again, you have your own opinion, and you are free to say what your opinion is based off of what you played. That's how this stuff is supposed to work. It's not supposed to be somebody trying to influence a score or change.
Exactly.
That's not how it works.
Exactly, but that's just how I feel about them, and obviously I think we're both in agreement. Like I'm not changing the review. I don't think we need to change the review, to change the score, or adjust what was said in my review or anything like that. That's not what we do. No other website does that unless there's like a huge level of disingenuousness with what something writes, and I don't feel like I was disingenuous at all.
No. There was no. You wasn't. But the instances in which any of these changes happen, normally it's for like a massive game.
Yeah, it's like a retraction. When something like that happens, it's a retraction. But we don't need to do that. I don't.
No. We don't have, as I already said. We don't have the time for that. I think people need to understand that. Again, we are an independent site. A lot of us, we're not an IGN. We're not a major site, so we don't have the money or the capital to just do this stuff full time every single day. We have lives and jobs outside of this stuff. So when we do make time to review stuff, I think we're spending our time, we're putting our time, making sure that it's of top quality.
And also, I feel like we don't have to in this case because nothing was done wrong. And I mean, you read my review. You read my review. I know I read my review, and it feels like everybody that read my review, it seems like what I said was fine. And
I think
it's genuine.
I think nothing was done wrong, but I do think that there was some lines crossed in that email to suggest that somebody does not know what they're doing. So at that point, I would think, no, you don't need to do anything else from here on out. Again, we already have, I would think it was good that we reviewed the game, period, instead of not reviewing anything at all. Because, whenever it's a publisher, whether it's India or whatever, some of these publishers actually need people to review the content. So, yeah. I mean, I would think that was good enough. The review was done. If they didn't agree with the review, well, it is what it is. Everybody is not going to say the game is amazing. And obviously, if a game is coming out on the first day, and there are people that have access to that game the first day when it has the patch, they obviously may have a different experience. But the whole point is you got the game early.
And I had no NDA and I had no review. Yeah. So I could say exactly what I experienced at that moment.
Exactly. So I think, just to return since they decided to deliver advice to me, I'm going to deliver advice to them and say next time they got to be a lot more clearer with their NDA They have to, you know, have an embargo, all this other stuff. And above all, I don't think it's a good idea for you to contact people directly and try to get them to, you know, change their practices to a better accommodate and give you a better score.
And more importantly, don't throw your experience in whatever field that you're in as a point for why you need to strong arm a person or strong arm an outlet into changing things up, or why that outlet is wrong. Because one of the things I like about the coalition, and I've told you this a couple of times and stuff like that, because we know exactly what we're doing. We know we have a passion for this. We have a passion for gaming. We have a passion for talking about video games and stuff, and we know exactly how we each individually feel about a particular video game or video games in general like that. And we're not going to change that because one other individual, one other person feels like it's okay to throw their professional accolades in everybody else's face because of that.
Agreed, 100%. It's just, yeah. You mean you said it better. I can't say it any better than how you just said it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's I mean, but I mean, again, I do think it was great to have this discussion. Like I say, you know, it's important for us to be transparent. You know, we are aware that there is a very busy gaming season that is upon us. And I think that talking about this stuff, I could say anyone that is listening to this or watching it, I will tell you now as editor-in-chief, you know, I will assure that we continue to deliver great quality. And of course, we remain honest in our opinion of every game that comes out. I know that there's a couple of games coming out, like ReCore is coming out in September. I've said on record, I think that game is going to be a disaster because of Mighty Number 9. And
because of Kenji Inafune.
Oh yeah, and best believe if it is a disaster, we will let you know. We're not going to hold back and say,
or it could be great. It could be phenomenal. You know, it could be Kenji Inafune's next big hit because I know his studio is working on his stuff. But the point is, and I think you said it right, is like we're always going to be honest. We're always going to be transparent. And I think this is good to have these types of discussions because it's always good to reinforce this idea of, like, you know, again, how we approach reviews, how we handle coverage, what we're doing behind the scenes, how we're being transparent with our audience, being open and honest with you guys that are listening to this, that you follow our content. This is why you follow our content in the first place. This is why you subscribe to our Patreon and stuff, because you trust us in our opinion, and you put a lot of trust in us to be totally just honest with you about gaming and to be forthright about it. You know what I mean? So absolutely. I feel like this is always good. Now, bottom line, it kind of sucks that we got that email, we got this stuff because. Well, no, I think this needed to happen. I like I said before when we started this, we've had reviews in the past. I could think of one in particular. You know, we had Eddie V on staff. He reviewed the new Devil May Cry game, DMC at the time. Gave it a perfect. Gave it, I believe it was a 90. And it's like people came to the site and they said, oh, this review was paid off because you guys gave it a high score, yet every other site also gave it a high score. DMC is a good game. I played it. I played it off PlayStation Plus. It's a good game.
So, you know, I just think, you know, stuff like that. And then I know we had Tony review Ubisoft's Far Cry Primal earlier this year. People accused him of being paid off because he gave it a high score. I mean, people need to get out of this mindset because, again, if we are getting paid off, man, don't you think we would be living it up right now? We would have a ton of money. I mean, we would be.
I would have a yacht or a boat that just had epics inscribed on the side of it.
And above all else, there would be even more content on the site because then we would be able to spend all our time working on the site and not have to worry about 9-to-5 jobs we don't give a shit about. But we're not in that position quite yet. Maybe one day. You know?
Exactly. But the point is, you know, all joking aside of one is, like, again, we're always going to be honest. We felt like we didn't do anything wrong. We wanted to tell you guys about this because we feel like it was a good lesson. It was a good story about doing due diligence to the content, doing due diligence to reviews, being open about the discussion about video games, and also being assertive of what we stand for and, like, the type of individuals we are and the type of website that we are.
Absolutely. And again, as I've already said, you can always count on us to be transparent and honest in everything that's going on regarding reviews, pretty much everything else. You know, we appreciate the support and we will always be honest for that reason. So I don't know if you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up.
Not really. I mean, just thank you for everybody that shows us support. Thank you to everybody that leaves comments in the articles, whether it's the op-eds, the editorials, the reviews, the podcasts, the comment section on YouTube, on videos like this and stuff. We always appreciate the people that support us on Patreon. That's always a good thing. Again, we're always working hard. We're always going to provide some awesome content for you guys. Again, we got some more stuff coming down the line. I know that we got the co-op coming up on this weekend, or at least, leading up into this weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, something like that. But also, again, all the other stuff that we got coming down the line as well. So be excited. Get excited. If you're subscribed to our Patreon, we got a lot of cool stuff planned out. If you haven't subscribed to our Patreon, definitely get up on that, because we got some exclusive content, exclusive podcasts we've done recently. And we got more coming down the line afterwards.
Yeah, we have one on Friday that we'll be dropping. That's about E3, our views and our experiences. You absolutely, positively should subscribe for that, because
that's a good convo.
That was a very good conversation. It lasts about 2 hours, so you guys definitely get your money's worth if you do subscribe.
Definitely.
That's pretty much it for us right now. Definitely want to thank the all of the viewers, listeners, and the supporters. And as I said, we will always remain transparent and honest in our reviews and policies, so on and so forth. So we look forward to bringing you guys more great content. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you all later.
Take it easy.